Hi friends. Today I am going to be reporting on something quite sad. So I'm going to offer a trigger warning. Unfortunately, as a foster parent with a social media platform, I do feel like it is my responsibility in a lot of ways to report on not only the good, the happy, the beautiful, but the sad and heartbreaking. So trigger warning, this is going to be a rough video. We're going to talk about the situation in Texas from a foster parent's perspective. So if you want to hear what I have to say about that, then stick around. But first, if you're new here and this is the first video of mine that you're ever watching, they're not all this awful, I promise. Let me introduce myself. My name is Anna Leonora, and together with my husband, Jason, we are foster parents, and we like to raise awareness for the foster care system and for foster parenting and for foster youth. And here on our channel, we do foster parenting life together, and we raise awareness for foster care. So if you're interested in any of that, please consider liking and subscribing down below. But yeah, this video is going to be a little bit rough, so I'm going to jump into it. I did take some notes because I don't want to get my facts wrong. But if these are inaccurate in any way, please don't come for me. This is the best I could do on short notice. I actually just heard about the situation in Texas this morning. So this is just the research I've been able to do today. The fact that it's not a more widely talked about problem, or that it's not given more media coverage, that it's not being spread as much, baffles me. I heard about this from someone on TikTok, and it prompted me to do some research. And even on YouTube, I tried to look it up on YouTube and found very limited information. And I think that this is something that needs more coverage. More light needs to shine on this situation because change needs to happen. I talk a lot on my channel. If you're not new here, or if you are new here, I talk a lot on my channel about foster parents being totally normal people like everybody else who just want to help children out, and how they're good people at heart. They're not heroes, they're not saints, they're not miracle workers, they're just people who want to help children. I think everybody on this planet, this is my own personal beliefs, have some sort of purpose. And I think that some people's purpose is helping youth who have been in situations where they've been abused and neglected. And there are good people who just want to make things better for those children. Provide them love, stability, peace, normalcy, and all of that. But unfortunately, there are people who have malintent. It's a pretty rigorous process, especially where I live, to become a foster parent. And so all of the foster parents that I know personally are amazing, wonderful humans. I have not personally met any foster parents personally. I've not personally met any foster parents who have malintent. But I'm hearing about the situation in Texas, and I'm appalled. I'm disgusted. I am incredibly saddened. Children in foster care should not ever be subjected to abuse, neglect, put in unsafe situations, because they've already had that. They came into foster care typically for reasons of abuse and neglect. So these are already children who have been through things that children should never ever have to go through. Foster care should be a safe haven for these children. It should be a safe space. And what I'm hearing out of Texas, it's hard to have words. So let me just give you a couple statistics if you're not familiar with what's happening in Texas, because it's really not being given the amount of media attention that it should. I'm going to give you a little bit of history of the foster care lawsuit in Texas. In 2011, there was a lawsuit filed against the state. There were some decisions made in that in 2015, so fast forward a couple years, the state was found that they were violating children's constitutional rights. By 2018, it hadn't gotten any better. So the court issued a list of orders for the state to do or change to help fix the system. Fast forward to June 2020, it's still happening. And full monitors, there were monitors assigned to the case who wrote reports, and their reports were released. So there is a case that is called MD versus Abbott, Governor Abbott, about how there's all these lawsuits in the past to change the foster care system in Texas, and nothing has been done. And let me tell you how horrific the foster care system is in Texas. And this is where that trigger warning comes into play. Let me just also give you some statistics while I'm talking about this. In 2019, 51,417 children were moved through the Texas Child Protective Services Agency in 2019. There are children dying in foster care in Texas. The leaders failed to make the changes the court ordered, and children are dying, which is why there is a lawsuit against the governor. Some of the reasons that children died in the state's custody in foster care: drowning, medical neglect, overdose on Tylenol, hit by a car, beat to death. There was a 15-year-old that was placed with a known human trafficker. No surprise, she ended up dead, found in a hotel room. The judge in this case said, when is enough going to be enough? Children who have already been abused and neglected are dying in foster care in Texas because the leaders have not made the changes that need to be made. Now, this is just Texas. There are statistics out of California that children in foster care are high rate percentages to be victims of sex trafficking. 80% of sex trafficking victims were former foster youth or were taken or recruited while they were in foster care. 90% of incarcerated inmates were foster youth or former foster youth. And 1/3 of their homeless population was in foster care in California and the LA area. When is enough going to be enough? I talk on this channel all the time about how fortunate we are to have a social worker and guardian ad litems who really care about our children. We're fortunate enough to have a rigorous program for vetting foster parents in our community. So all the foster parents I know personally are amazing, wonderful people. Our social worker is an amazing, wonderful person. Our guardian ad litems, et cetera, et cetera. Our judge is awesome. But when is enough enough? We are the exception, it seems, in our county. Children are dying in foster care. And if they don't die in foster care, their rates of drug abuse, homelessness, crime, sex trafficking are astronomical. When are we going to take the foster care system by the horns and say, enough is enough? It is time to reform the system so that they stop focusing solely on the birth parents' rights and start focusing on the children's rights, what the children need. Start taking care of your foster parents so that you're not losing good people so quickly. The foster parent turnover rate is massive, and there is a reason for that. Give foster parents some rights. I'm not saying give them exclusive rights. I'm not saying take away birth parents' rights entirely, because certainly there is a place for birth parent rights. There is an important emphasis on reunification. That should not change. But at some point, it needs to be about the child and not the parent. At some point, the system needs to say, I wonder why we have not nearly enough foster parents for the amount of foster children we have. What can we do for the foster parents to recruit more people who are good people and help keep them? What is that point? And we need to not just do this on a state-by-state level. This needs to be a federal foster care reform as a country as a whole. Because it's not okay. Children cannot advocate for themselves. They cannot take care of themselves. They cannot protect themselves. We have to do that because it's not the child's fault. The child did not ask to come into this world. They did not ask to come into this world to the people they came into this world to. They didn't ask to be abused and neglected. Foster youth who have a bad experience in foster care end up more likely to be on drugs, more likely to commit crimes and be in jail, more likely to be homeless. All it takes is good, stable adults helping the children out. Laws protecting the children's interests. If you want more good foster parents, there's going to have to be reform in this system. I know way too many amazing, wonderful foster parents who quit after the first year or after the first long-term placement because of how foster parents are treated. It is what it is. North Carolina is one of 11 states that does not have a foster care bill of rights. And again, the foster parents are not the child's parent, and they're not going to have the same rights as the bio parents. Understandable, but they do deserve some rights. Or you're just not going to have foster parents. And more children are going to have to live in group homes, which is not an ideal situation for any child. They're putting children in juvenile detention. Children who have done nothing wrong, have no criminal history. In fact, what was wrong was done to them. They were abused or neglected, so they were removed from their parents. But because there's no placement for them, they've been putting them in juvenile detention. Can you imagine what that does to the psyche of a child? These things are not okay. And it is time that we start advocating and make reform happen. Talk to your representatives, your local representatives. Send them emails, phone calls, messages, written letters. Talk to your representatives because this has to change. And it doesn't just have to change in Texas, and it doesn't just have to change in California. It needs to change federally. If you want more information on what's going on in Texas, you can Google the MD versus Abbott case. And Judge, I think her name is Judge Janice Jack. If you want more information on foster youth ending up in sex trafficking, I will link a TED Talk down below that I found very interesting. Do your research, guys. If you can't be a foster parent, and trust me, I know that not everyone can. If you can't be a foster parent, at least advocate for foster care reform. We need more people advocating. We need more people talking about it because we need change to happen. Because it is not okay for these children to end up how they're ending up. It's not okay. And something has to change. I don't even know how to end this video, so I'm just going to say goodbye. Honestly, there's no like happy, lovey way to end this. This bothers me so much. So, I'm gonna go ahead and end the video at this time. Just remember, May is Foster Care Awareness Month, and we need to be raising awareness, clearly, for foster care. Till next time, guys. Bye.